Narcissistic intelligence doesn't really exist in the objective sense of the word intelligence. To increase your intelligence is to expand your knowledge, expand your skills. Narcissists are incapable of expansion by choice. And there are many conditions to a person being able to sustain narcissistic consciousness. And those conditions directly counteract with what creates intelligence. So with that said, how come some narcissists seem to be so intelligent and calculated and smart? That's what we're going to get into today. So, some of the conditions for narcissistic consciousness is a lack of empathy, a lack of self-awareness, dishonesty, and fantasy realities. Humans, at the core, are pure. We come to this earth with pure hearts, children full of love and light and happiness and peace and honesty. Over time, some children become corrupted, but at the core, humanity's desire is pure. But what that means is that you can't just become, an evil, cruel person and do horrible things to people and just exist within that true reality. So they have to rewrite reality, live in a fantasy reality to avoid the fact that they harm people so much. They have to have very low self-awareness, so they can't really be fully aware of what they're doing to people and why they're doing it to people, or else they literally wouldn't do it, or they couldn't do it, or they would just be facing way too much consequence, such as guilt and shame, and those consequences would kind of destroy the narcissist. So these are the conditions of narcissistic consciousness. The reason why they're so intelligent is the way that narcissistic control energy dynamics work. So narcissists are very controlling. When they seek to control others, they attract entities and energies that wish to control them. When they seek to possess others, treat others like their possessions. If I own this stick, it's a possession of mine. They attract entities and energies that want to possess them, own them, control them. Control what they do, what is done with them, where they go, who they are, what they are used for. Right? Like, I control what I use my shoe for because I own it. So, a lot of narcissist intelligence is simply coming from these entities and energies and beings, egregores maybe, that have desires for them. When the narcissist descends into narcissistic consciousness, the descension down into the lower states of consciousness is always a choice. It's not, no one is born narcissistic. When someone chooses to descend into narcissistic consciousness, they forfeit their self-awareness, their lack of empathy, their empathy, their heart, and in return, their desire becomes illusion. So their only real desire is, this is like the deal they take with the devil, which is a really bad deal. All deals with the devil are bad deals, honestly, but they take a deal where they will do whatever these energies want, as long as these energies provide them with their illusions and their skills of rewriting reality and protecting them from the truth of their behavior. So that is why narcissists are controlled, right? They get what they want, illusions, fantasy realities, and then these entities basically do whatever they wish with them, these energies. And they are controlled. So their intelligence is borrowed, right? You can't be intelligent in something if you have no self-awareness, right? Like, if you have such a low level of self-awareness, how could you, like, increase your intelligence around something? And the thing about learning is that you have to admit you don't know something to learn something. So then how are narcissists like learning how to be manipulative and like getting better at being manipulative and improving at being cruel? Well, they're not actually learning. And this is why they can't actually teach it to people. Like, narcissists will never admit that they're evil. They'll never admit to the energetic undercurrent of their behaviors because they literally don't have the self-awareness to know that that's what they're doing. And so they can't teach something to others, right? If you truly learned something, if you were truly intelligent about something, you would be able to teach it to others, right? But narcissists can't teach. To teach, you have to have empathy. You have to be able to take some level of criticism to be a good teacher. You have to have self-awareness in order to teach something, but they're literally not aware of what they do. And little caveat, they are like aware when they're taking behaviors, but they have all of these partaking in behaviors, but they have all of these mechanisms in their mind where when they do something cruel, you know, they come in and start lying to themselves and rewriting reality, and that's a choice. So it's not like people are just like blacked out fucking zombies, you know what I mean? Like, when I put this video on, I'm aware when the narcissist steals your thing. They're aware they stole your thing, but they're gonna they have all those, you know, rewrite reality, all these things. And so this is how people can become master manipulators. Like, to become a better narcissist, you have to increase the level of control that you allow other beings to have access to you. You increase access for other beings and energies. And this is why I will never put narcissists on this pedestal of like master manipulator or like anything like that, because they're not a master, right? To be a master of something, you build your skills, you learn things, and they're not masters at anything. They're like puppets, like they're possessions, they're controlled. And so additionally, intelligence, what was I gonna say? I kept losing this thread that I wanted to. I won't ramble about me losing my train of thought. Okay, so this is why, like, there's no like manual for like how to be a narcissist or how to be a manipulator. Some people share their evil ways like online or whatever to kind of influence people into, you know, becoming manipulative, but narcissists don't really know how they do what they do. And you can't really teach it. And that's kind of how the devil works, because if the devil told you that you get this silly little illusion and then you're going to do all these cruel and evil acts to people and put yourself in a hell that you have to constantly convince yourself isn't hell, which takes up a lot of energy, like, you would be like, nah, man, fuck off. No, I don't want that. And so how it's kind of disguised is that it's like glamorized, right? It's charming, it's something, and all that is just an illusion in and of itself, the glamorization and the charming. And I don't want to go too deep and confuse people, but it goes hand in hand with our childhood conditioning, right? Like, we were conditioned from a very young age to be afraid of dominating energies. So when dominating or evil energies are in the presence of us, if we don't have a sort of like soul wisdom or experience, we may just submit to those dominating energies. When we have illusions in our consciousness, when the devil casts illusions, we just fall for them really easily. And your purity of heart is what dictates what kind of like path you'll go down on. So just as narcissists have entities and energies attached to them and controlling them, they seek to control, possess, harm. They seek energies, then they attract energies and spirits that seek to control, possess, and harm them. When you seek to protect, love, and care for others, you attract beings and energies that seek to love, protect, and care about you. And this doesn't mean that you need to like love yourself or be perfect and healed in order to have like divine protection or spiritual guides, benevolent spiritual guides, but it's that purity of heart, that desire for something higher, that that choice, like this is what I want to do, that desire. And many people forfeit this desire because they may learn that there is no other way to be in the world, right? The new consciousness, Christ consciousness, is a newer thing on the planet, and there's a lot of people who go years and years and years without meeting a single healthy person, a single safe person. And so it makes sense that some people may believe that there's nothing else out there. There's no other higher consciousness state out there. And that's really where the weak power of narcissistic consciousness is. It's power in numbers, right? But overall, narcissists are extremely weak and they're not intelligent. Many times narcissists may appear intelligent too because they're mimics, they're credit stealers. So whoever their supply is, they might surround themselves with truly intelligent people, and when those intelligent people speak very beautiful and insightful, wise things to them, they go and tell it to everyone else. So they appear to be insightful when they're actually not. So narcissists, this looks so cool. So narcissists really wouldn't be able to partake in the actions that they partake in if they fully knew what they were doing. And let's go back, because I said that it takes a lot of energy. If you've heard the term "there ain't no rest for the wicked," that's what this term means. It's like, imagine having to lie to yourself constantly and avoid your emotions constantly, and that's the kind of slippery slope of narcissistic abuse for abusers, because it's kind of like an addiction, like a vape, right? Or like a cigarette. Like when you first hit the cigarette, it's really good, and it's like, and it feels really good, and there's not that many consequences to it. And then like the longer you go on, like the harder it is to like keep up that habit or stop that habit, because the consequences build up. That's kind of what narcissistic abuse is like for abusers. Like at first it's really easy to like push away the guilt and push away the shame and lie to yourself, but as they keep on doing more harmful things, it becomes harder and harder, and that's when they start to increase their abusiveness. That's when they become more and more cruel, because the level of cruelty that they must take increases for like how long they're going without experiencing their karma, and eventually narcissists destroy themselves with all of their consequences. But if they come into contact with someone, a being of truth, I will say, is when they destroy themselves and start reaping their consequences. But yeah, so it's like an addiction. They have to become more and more evil to sustain their way of being. And think about, like, you know, when someone uses you in real life, they don't just like take some money from you and stop. They keep on, like, the more you let them take from you, the more they're gonna take, right? And these entities and energies that control these narcissists are the same way, right? They're not gonna just be like, oh, do something a little mean for me. They're gonna be like, okay, yeah, you gotta ramp this up. Like, I want this now. You gotta do this for me now. And I've talked about this a little bit. If you want to know more about karma, I have a video on that. I'll put it in the link in the description. Eventually, consequences get so deep that no matter what they do, if they try to repent, they will be destroyed by the consequences of their own actions. So, yeah, whenever someone tells you that narcissists can be intelligent, you can think about it in this way, that intelligence involves expansion. Another thing about expansion is that control is the opposite of expansion. When you control someone, you sabotage their expansion. When you control yourself, you sabotage your expansion, kinda. There's like different types of control, right? There's like positive self-control comes from trust, energies of trust, and then negative self-control comes from control. And so when you are constantly trying to, like here's what I'm going to say. The type of control that narcissists are in is this, like, being dishonest, rewriting reality, always having to control their perceptions and other perceptions to keep their narcissistic consciousness alive and keep them from being destroyed. So when you're in that energy of control, you can't learn, you can't expand, you can't be intelligent, because you have to keep up your illusions constantly, and all their energy really is going into their illusions, right? They don't have time to figure out how to, like, be a wonderful manager, or like be a good parent, or be a good boyfriend, because all of their energy is going into sustaining their narcissistic consciousness, and that looks like rewriting reality, lying to oneself, lying to others, sabotaging others, doing these little rituals. When I say ritual, I don't mean like candles. I mean like systematically gaslighting someone, or like moving their belongings to mess with them is a ritual. They have to do these rituals to keep things up, so they can't focus on learning and growing and expanding, because their whole focus is on actually descending and contracting their consciousness into something very, very small and weak. So yeah, whole focus.